Hello, this is Everett Pierce of Einstein 314. Now, if you're looking for me on YouTube, it is Energy 321 COM. Energy 321 basically is a symbolism representing God, highest level of evolution. And that's why I also have Einstein 314. 314, 3 March the 14th. It's also 3 numbers of pi. I'm the pi man, an alpha prime of evolution. With all evolution, we'll hit a plateau. And many things. So there's some things that are purposely in there. So this is duly noted 18E of religion. So we're going to cover some things, and when we discuss these things, and this is still in the introductory, kind of like kindergarten, so this is not intended to be disrespectful or insulting to any religion out there. So when you think of all the religions out there, put them together, and even the ones that are not on that list, that's me. That's my religion. Because God, highest level of evolution, it doesn't have limitations. It has all the tools that it needs to be freaking awesome. Alpha prime, omnipresent, good and evil. So in this topic of duly noted 18E is, I want to touch a little bit about Islam. So if you're a Muslim or Islamic, so do know when the dust settles here, I refuse to leave on a note, my intentions is to insult you. That is not my intention. So I'm going to do this from time to time. I will swiggle this out. My phone is on a tripod. I'm not reading from a teleprompter. Okay, what we know about Islam. Islam, the true meaning of it was problem solvers. And the derivative of problem solving is you bring about peace. Okay, in terms of evolution, if I went back to a caveman and I show him my cell phone, he might think I'm the light god or I'm there to kill him. Because he's not quite understanding of me or her. So I have to make every effort to try to understand him or her. And then he has or she has to make every effort to understand me and start building this evolutionary bridge with communications and all the foundational elements of energy. So religion, essentially, is a concept of evolution. So if you take a big plane of glass, like the Big Bang, and you smack it, it busts into a billion different pieces. That's what we're experiencing out there. Different tones of skin, different heights, different weights, different religions, different nations. So religion. And what was earlier with this Adam Salam, the reason why we're going to talk about Islam or Muslims, because you're looking at one, a true sense of one. When you stop and think about it, if you're going to refer to one sector of my religion, that's Islam. Okay? You say, I mean, you're a Muslim? It's like calling you a brother. You say, yeah, I'm a brother. You say, but I just heard your son, that young kid over, call you a father. Well, which is it? Are you a father? Are you a mother? And over there, your neighbor called you Jeff. Which is it? Oh, I'm all descriptive values. Like we see religion. Different names for religion. Okay, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Okay. Back in the early times of evolution, you have to teach certain principles. Now, I'm on a second-by-second relationship with God. And God is, I'm its apprentice. It is always teaching me. If I step out of line, it slaps me in the head. Or it says, you're pathetic. It facilitates me. Just like our government is supposed to facilitate its people. Classified symbolism, we the people. Now, whether it's in America or Russia or China or Japan, and they're facilitating. That's a form of religion. A certain belief system of an evolutionary concept, a way of life. Okay? That's essentially what religion is. When you look at the raw sense of it. And you can test these theories out. It's like, do you have this thing on your face? I'm Muslim. No. Because covering up, that is not what. If you take that weight, that item, that's how you test these things out. Okay, when I say the universal language of God is numbers, let's test this theory out. If you take out numbers, every essence, what is known as a number, you also take out energy. Life as you know it would not exist. Energy, mass, and numbers go hand in hand. They have to be like sun. Light and heat is inseparable to the word symbolism, sun. You take heat out, it's no longer a sun. You take the light out, it's no longer a sun. So you take these certain elements out, you also take it out. So if I take your robe off with your Christian, you're still a Christian. This is my this is my freedom of religion. Well, if you're using an item that is not directly rooted into your religion, and I can see that you're using it as warfare, I have to think of self-preservation of man. Okay. So, Muslims, okay, they get certain times of the day, they stop and they pray and they point to a particular direction. Direction means a structure of things, and structure. It's like the United States. We have certain protocols. Just like Muslims have certain protocols when they pray, when they do things. In Mecca, okay. Now, what I told you is, I can tell you about seventh heaven. But in terms of evolution, some people have a hard time understanding things. So we'll just say back in the time of Jesus and Mary. And say, well, Mary was a Virgin Mary. Okay, but if I said, okay, in terms of technology, I say, well, in the higher evolution, they do artificial insemination. It means they still insert semen, sperm, without the actual procreation, sex, or in other words, fuck, sex, okay? But they wouldn't understand that. And I say, well, sperm meets up with her egg and they combine together. If you can't see it, they're trying to understand something they can't see. That's why the Asians, they thought, because you could see the sperm, but you couldn't see hers. I mean, they would see the discharge in terms of blood. I mean, you have to go by what is provable. Okay, so that's why the Asians, they'd have the women on their backs to make sure they didn't spill the seeds. That's why men at that time of evolution, they thought they were more valuable, that they had the seeds, like an apple seed. The apple falls off and there's a seed there. Meaning, and that's how women got shifted into a second-rate citizen and treated as such. Because they thought, as long as you have the male, we're going to repopulate. They're understanding what evolution is. Now, as we know now in 2016, and we know what a sperm looks like, we know what a female egg is like, and chromosomes, and everything's coming together, and we're studying the DNA. DNA is a walk in the park for me. The coding of that. To me, I think in big numbers. This is stuff that's been taught to me through experience and through the teachings of the highest level of evolution. In increments, over many lifetimes. So this element of reincarnation doesn't exist. there's been people along the timeline of man. Well, for several reasons. We can have a video just talking about reincarnation. But they got tired of seeing me. You know, all of a sudden, hey, but you think you know it all. Now they're implementing their insecurity. You know, because contrast. That's why a lot of people don't like to be around me, because I put contrast. I am knowledgeable. I'm full of knowledge. And it belittles them. They get to feel like this just in my presence without saying a word. And they get mad at me. And they're not mad at me because it reflects upon themselves how pathetic they are and what effort they put into their life and their development, in their evolution. Okay, so that is a video all upon itself. So duly noted 18 will keep focused, keep on the path. Okay, so Muslim prays certain times of the day, pointing in a certain direction, which is towards Mecca, paying homage to Mecca. Okay, and in the middle, there's a stone. Well, if the stone that I know that was placed there, if it's the same, still one, it is material from the seventh heaven. And that's why there's a lot of value to that. And say, well, why did I do that? Why did I bring a substance here of the seventh heaven? Because some evolution, they have to feel it and touch it. If I talk about a sperm back then, they'll say, well, what's a sperm? They don't know what it is. Okay, the man ejaculates. And if I say, oh yeah, there's a little thing, it looks like fish. I don't see it. I see white substance. What people can prove. Okay, so when you're teaching evolution, in the different levels of evolution, of understanding, some things get lost in translation because your evolution is not allowing you to think, to establish that. Now, if we got technology where I can put it under a slide and say, that's what a sperm looks like, and you see it wiggling. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. And say, this is a woman's egg. And if you had it where you show it where it's coming together. Oh, so that's how life comes about. Okay, so that's some things that when you put it down in writing, it's put down in such a way for evolution. So as you evolve, you interpret that book differently as you develop. So, of all the books out there. Okay, so praying. Communication to the highest level of evolution, God. I call it energy. So they take time to establish their relationship with God. Okay. Well, essentially that can be done anywhere. I'm doing it right now. Second by second by second. But I've developed myself to be that way. I insist on being that way. But someone on evolution, they're not there. I know what it takes to be on a second by second by second by second by second. They'll burn out. And so just doing the prayers. I mean, get in the habit. Let's establish symbolism, praying, communication. That's essentially what it is. You know, communications. They go to Sunday school or go Sunday Mass. Practicing communication, fellowship. Oh, and stand on the side of your bed. Thank you, God, for what you have, or your dinner. Saying grace. Communication to God. Highest level of evolution. Communications. No matter what you call it. Prayer. So that can be done anywhere. And you say, well, God's omnipresent. So, okay, so we can have a video just on that, just on the prayer. I'm not a scholar of this. I'm an author of this. So I would be able to explain it way beyond what is in your book, because there are some things that were deliberately left out. And then when you put the pieces together and you say there's no doubt he's the author, he's not a scholar, because none of this has been taught in the video. None of this. But when you piece it together and you know, if I tear a piece of paper, like here's a piece of paper. Here's a piece of paper. You break it up. But if I put it back together, you say, that's a perfect match. Okay, now you can counterfeit it, but for the sake of understanding. Okay, so the Muslims circle this rock. Okay, what's the symbolism of that? Symbolism, well, many things. But one of them is to remind the Muslims and Islam, and in fact any nation who is observing that, the cycle of the sun, solar years. Okay, now let's think in terms of evolution. Make it a cycle. Okay, so cycling means caveman, we're in 2016, meaning that you could go back to being a caveman. T-Rex, it now has you on its dinners list. Okay, what do we implement in our schools? If you don't pass the grade, you don't meet the criteria, the teachers, their responsibility is not to pass you because you do not meet the criteria established. And if you go in the next grade, you'll be even further lost. It's like taking a child, 2-year-old child, and put him in college. And this 2-year-old child still is working on ABC. So it doesn't make any sense. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Okay, so people circle this for multiple reasons. Is to get people to practice this. Meaning if you screw up, and before extinction comes in, God has an act of mercy and takes you back to the beginning. Versus total extinction. Extinction is also a religion. Unfortunately, when they congregate, which is in a museum, usually they don't argue. They're not communicating, but it's still a form of religion. A concept of evolution. And trust me, you don't want to be a professional extinctionist. That is one religion you don't want to be in. So if there's one thing, okay, the term devil, well, that's been associated with Lucifer. They got Jesus wrong. So what are the odds of them getting that wrong? If you're going to put a label to the thing, devil, if extinction has a different name, you will put devil. Because as they have depicted the devil, this hideous looking and demons and stuff. And I ran into people who say, oh, that's a demon. And I said, oh, so you're a demonologist. Okay, so devil to the extinction. Lucifer is an alpha prime, a negative. He fell from heaven. Beautiful angel fell from heaven. Symbolism, negative, positive, alpha prime. So, is Lucifer here to destroy you? No, don't make any sense. He has no incentive. He's like me, but on a much lesser degree in terms of evolution. So, think of it as a basketball. He's the blocker. Oh no, you ain't gonna block this on me. He forces you to develop yourself and become better. And then he has to become better. As we know with sports, which is another reason why we have sports. Okay, so people circle this rock. Get in a habit of doing certain things. I do this all the freaking time. In many different ways. Okay, circle of life. In our body, our cells. Each cell has a cycle. And then when that cell reaches its total cycles, it dies. That's why some people lived 120. Some people, and back in biblical days, Moses living to be 500, 900 years old. You know, the scientists have looked at the human body. It's a perfect piece of machine, like Adam and Eve. Genesis. Man, Adam and Eve were perfect. The design that we have here, the chest area, rib bones from Eve, rib, 12, neck, cervical, 12/7, December 7th. Okay, so back in the evolution, you're explaining these things from the rib. It's a bone. It means we're established, identified as our bones. And when we eventually see the bones, we will count 12 thoracics, 7 cervicals. Symbolism. if I was to get in a little more detail back then, and it's like people are dying, it's taking 1,000 years. They haven't seen a dead body yet. They haven't seen the bones yet. People have a hard time understanding certain things. So you have to put it in symbolism. So when they do evolve and they started using their objective and creative mind, you'll say, wow, I didn't notice that before. I didn't notice this before. Being objective. This is the word of God. I say, wait a minute, that was being taught tens of thousands, millions of years ago. You were supposed to evolve since then. That's a teaching tool. As we have books, authors out there. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, as we know with Rocky, he's fighting the Russian. And because of how he's fighting, of course, this is Hollywood, but it was to the point where now the Russians has high respect for Rocky. He says, you didn't like me in here, and now we're coming. So, I think everyone has seen Rocky. If you didn't, take your time to watch it. Sylvester Stallone is freaking awesome. So, he's a little different, but he's very natural. Go beyond just acting. Teaching certain criteria, certain elements of the foundation. It's like he's getting beat up, but he stays persistent. Okay, so, Muslims. That's why we have to identify these things as to why would you be walking around a rock? Yeah, that rock, if it's the same one, is from the seventh heaven. So, it's just a sample. People had to touch it. As what we see, with videos in Mecca. They want to touch it. It's divine. They hold a lot of value to it. Now they have something they can feel and touch of the seventh heaven. And then with the recycling of evolution. If you happen to start over 4 billion years and you're at 1 million recycles, at what point do you stop this cycle of starting over? Don't you get tired of starting over? So these are symbols, teaching certain principles. Let's move forward 4 billion years. Let's start changing our thinking, like Sharia law. And then I heard the other day, it was like everything was punishable by death. If they got rid of everyone non-believer, and it's just them, and then within their group, if they screw up or make poor decisions, they'll have to kill them. Eventually, they'll back themselves in a corner, and they will extinct themselves. So there's illogical. That's why we use the term radical. This is what it's been established that is conducive to self-preservation of mankind, human race. And everything you want to do is kill, punishable. That'll lead you right in that corner, and you'll end up having to kill yourself because you have just violated the very law that in which you hold. Extinction. So when people radicalize, it means they change out of the established pattern of things, and it leads you to extinction. But the thing is, so that's why there's a lot of things, people have taken a lot of things out of context. I don't care what nationality or what nation you're in. And that's why a lot of nations have fallen to a lot of these things. Because they're still developing. They're trying to understand people. The sword, one of the biggest symbolism back then. What is your salvation? Can also come back and whack your head off. And then back then, in terms of Muslims, and it said, off with his head. Off with his head. Okay. Now, since people can't see your brain, they can't actually see what's going on in the synapsing of the brain, and you're trying to explain to someone, means if they're illogical thinking, and it's going to bring about death or fight or war, off with his head. It didn't mean literal sense of taking his head off. If you cut everyone's head off, you're going to run out of believers. And then you had to cut your head off because eventually you had done some violation. Extinction. So that doesn't make any sense. It's like going around having sex with everyone to protect your virginity. So the term of off with your head was intended if the person's not thinking correctly, stop his thoughts. It's like, off with his head. I mean, stop his thinking. Try to resolve something, problem solve, so you can bring about peace. It didn't say literally cut his head off. You'll back yourself in the corner and you'll be all extinct. Well, it's kind of hard to practice Islam. It's hard to practice being a Muslim if you're fucking dead. Quite simple. You're a bag of bones next to the T-Rex. That is a religion, Now you force yourself into a religion. You literally force yourself into a religion. It's called extinction. You're no longer a Muslim. You're no longer Islam. You're no longer Christian. You're no longer this. You're an extinctionist. That is a religion. So, it's just common sense. So, now, in 2016, now I can explain it more on the levels that, as a whole, people can understand. And when you open your mind and be tolerable and to listen to certain things and bring about the facts, then it makes more sense to you. You say, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's with a lot of problems. In all nations, I didn't think about that. Hindsight. So I'm not picking on a Muslim or any atheist. Atheist serves a purpose out there. And what's been in the news in Germany, mowing down people in this Christmas light gathering, whatever it is, killing 12 people. Merry Christmas. Merry, the word Mary sounds, it's Mary, be happy, joyful. But Mary also sounds like a name, like Mary of Jesus Christ. So we don't say Christmas, 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 or Mary, Mary. You'll confuse people. Merry Christmas, Christ, is another name for Jesus. Wow, he has another name. Merry Christmas means mother and child coming together. Unity. In the manger, we got 3 wise men. We got animals there, all together. Unity, family coming together. Either you're friends or family or whoever in the hell you are. We're going to welcome you. We're here taking time out to enjoy each other. Be merry. Be happy. Take the time to talk to you. Hi, my name is Everett. Merry Christmas is beyond the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, if you say, we are celebrating Christmas, that's more religious. But I go out and I say, Merry Christmas, what I'm saying is, go home to your family, get together, practice unity. Because out of 365 days, you haven't spent a day with your brother. Take a time out. Your brother might need it. Your sister might need it. You might need a break from work. So these companies out there that won't give the workers enough time, they got to push it in the next one. They got to get up at 6 o'clock the next morning. They cut time off from their family. No, you play hard. Damn it, the companies out there can allow you ample time. They're still going to have their money. Instead of open up at 6 o'clock in the morning, open up at 6 o'clock at night. So they can wake up late and not be so rushed and cut family time off. And that's why Donald Trump is saying, Merry Christmas. It is beyond Christmas, Jesus Christ's birthday. What if you're born on Christmas? And say, it's Christmas. No, it's my birthday. No, it's Christmas. It's my birthday. Oh my. And God forbid, someone else is born on that day, and he ends up killing 10 million people. And you'll be afraid to even say, I'm born on Christmas. Oh my God, 10 million people died on that. Oh my God. No, Merry Christmas is saying, be happy. For Muslims, Assalamu alaikum. And he responds, or she, wa alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. May peace and blessings of God, higher evolution, be upon you. Happiness, merry. And then the person, wa alaikum salam, is back to you. They say, inshallah, means God willing. God willing, I'm going to go to the grocery store. God willing, inshallah. Means I may get halfway there and get in a car accident and I die. Okay, that's what inshallah. You're making notice that there are some things beyond your control. It's like, I have intention to do this, I'm going to do this, but God willing, if it's my time to go, God, higher evolution, is going to take us. Inshallah. God willing. It's God is control. God is facilitating everything and trying to put balance and try to reason to things. And a lot of people blame God. You know, if someone dies of the family, oh my God, God, why would you do this to me? Ah! Scapegoat. Zero accountability. Take the time to try to understand things. If you don't understand it, then stay neutral about it. Don't jump to conclusion about it. So, I know a few things when it comes to religion. And I say that facetiously, because that's a huge understatement. I don't need a teleprompter, like we see here in the mirror, in the back there. It's on a tripod. I don't have a teleprompter telling me what to do. It's all up here. Lifetime after lifetime, reincarnation. Because some people despise me. Because they don't like what I have to say, what I have to teach, because it goes against what kind of belief system they're doing. I'm not trying to destroy people, but to make their candle seem brighter, they have to blow mine out, saying, reincarnation doesn't exist. You really? And I can give you so many explanations as to why reincarnation, why they put it in place, because they don't want to be reminded that they have lived a pathetic life or done something nasty or something that result in the life of many people. You know, that is, you know, as they say in relationships, I want a monogamy. Monogamy should be part of your evolution. So it doesn't creep up in today's time, and you can keep that of the past, and you learn from the past, but you're not still living in it. Something that happened 30 years ago. Monogamy. Placement. Why is your nose here versus on your tailbone? Okay, it should be obvious, but if you don't know it obvious, if your nose was on your tailbone, you smell like shit. Placement, timing, balance, religion, concept, evolution. So, like I said earlier, what's my religion? Am I spiritual? I get a kick out of people. Are you Christian? Are you religious? I'm like, if they only knew. So I get a little kick out of it. You take all the religions, put it together, and you say, oh, there's Satanism is a religion in there. Put it all together. Even extinctions in there. Like a car motor with a million pieces, or not million, but thousands of pieces coming together, working as a functionality that brings about superiority, high technology, higher understanding of things. Because, you know, as they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Okay, what does it say? Extinction is my true enemy. In order to put in check, doesn't it make sense that I should know everything about it, its personality, so it doesn't work me, it doesn't try to kill me, it stays check, I stay check. And like being in prison, studying inmates, it's like, oh, I know how to lie. No, I have it for the sole purpose if you come to me with a scam or deceit or deception, I'm going to spot you right off the bat and say, you know, just get out of here. I already know what you're going to do. For self-preservation. You know, I may not be out there trying to use deception on you, but I'm also going to use it for my self-preservation to avoid people being deceptive. I'm a good American citizen. I'm from Harvard. I'm going to say, shut the fuck up. You have all the tools of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, in a sense, I'm going to pay attention to collective feedback to see your actions and what you're saying and doing are matching up. Synchronizing. It looks like that motor. Synchronize in timing. If something's out of sync, something ain't right. Then I start digging deep and finding the facts. You know, what we've seen in this presidential election. Fake news, false information, stoking, deception. And then Hillary taking it out there and push it. And you know, it's like stampede. Hillary's up there and starts a stampede per se. And then everyone's behind her, pushing her. She can't stop the stampede. And they'll stomp right over her. It got that energy so motion forward. She flipped the coin. That's what led to her losing this presidential election. So, because they didn't want to humble themselves. They felt entitlement. And I told them many years ago, decades ago, back in 1865, when I had the 13th Amendment passed. And then the Democrat says, Everett, you screw us on this and we're going to kill you. I say, fine. Okay. And we passed the 13th Amendment because that was for the betterment of the people. And they ended up assassinating me. And instead of being a coward, I went to a play and said, you're going to play me. You better be smarter than the person you're playing. And I made it symbolic in terms of the play. I wasn't guarded. Come here. I stand. I'm willing to die for what I believe in. Are you? And when people use deception, they like to use it. They'll kill people for their purpose, but they're not willing to die for their purpose. There's a big difference. And I say, hey, can you go to the grocery store and bring me back a gallon of milk? And they come back 3 hours later. I said, what the hell? Okay, can you go to the grocery store and get me a gallon of milk? And I need it here within 30 minutes. And if you're not back in 30 minutes, I'm going to kill you. What? I ain't going to do that. What? Just because I put an element of death in there and now you don't want to do it? Are you uncertain of yourself? Are you going to take 3 hours to come back and bring me my milk that I need? You know, it takes on a different tone of things when your life depends on it. When your life depends on it, you'll find out how fast you can fucking move your ass. Self-preservation. What you're willing to do. If to save your life, there was a movie where you may have to chew your arm off to save your life. And you say, well, man, I don't know how I could do that. Believe me, if you're in a position, you will force yourself or die. You say, I ain't going to do that, I'll just die. Then you just die. But if you want to insert your self-preservation, you will find a way for self-survival. You'll cut your own damn arm off to save your life. You know, that's when it comes to deception of people and religion and stuff. If you truly believe in this concept, like ISIS and these people, they're willing to die, like they say, a martyr. It's an honor to them. They're willing to die for their cause and their evolutional concepts of things, which is a level 1 warfare. There's actually 11 levels. Actually 11 all that I care to know. I mean, anything over 11 is like overkill on top of overkill. So you start separating, you start identifying intent. If you truly believe in this, wholeheartedly, love and passion, you'll be willing to die for it. And if you're not that strong into it, you say, are you willing to die for it? Oh, hell no. Why is my life got to be part of this? There's different tools that you can identify intent. Because at this evolution, you know, we understand the brain and the synapses and neurons and all that stuff. But to read a person's mind, evolution is not there where we can communicate telepathically via thought. Does that exist? Absolutely it does. So you have to find other tools, just like an auto mechanic having sockets and screwdrivers and Phillips, these tools to be functional to fix a car. So you have to find other resources using an objective creative mind to have different skill sets. A presidents, a generals. I've been in all positions, just like, you know, a district manager. Chances are they've been in all positions. They know what is supposed to be in terms of facilitating. Our government, or any government, is a facilitation of that people. Whether it's Russia, China, or whatever. To keep chaos out. To put order in. Feng shui. Survival. Self-preservation. So hopefully this has enlightened you. I know the true sense of Islam. What a Muslim is. I know what a sense of Christianity. So like say for example, and you say, well, the Antichrist. Okay, so if I'm back then and I teach you, this is a black shirt. And then 2016 years later, they're teaching people it was a white shirt. That's the opposite, the flip. So they themselves have become the Antichrist. Because that's not what I taught. So you got to think of how, because when you stop and think about it, if Jesus came back and the teachings were changed, well, first of all, he'd be like a thief in the night because they got this image of Jesus this way. He comes back with this way, and that's totally opposite of what we know of it. And then now Jesus, who taught the material, now takes on the image of looking like the Antichrist. Just like I just illustrated. I teach you that's a white wall. And in 2016 years ago, or down the road, evolution, and you're teaching everyone it's a black wall. And I say, no, it's a white wall. Oh, you must be the Antichrist. You see where this is going? Extinction loves changing polarity. Okay? Giving man the benefit of the doubt that he didn't deliberately try to change it. But when you start putting the facts in rationale and reasoning and science, you start identifying certain things. Evolution, when it starts overlapping, it snitches the old evolution out. That's the nice part of evolution when it overlaps. So when you're dealing with multiple levels of religion and belief system and concepts, I don't need a book. God's word, it's all around you. I don't need a book. I don't need a teleprompter. It's all around us. And I will spin your head in terms of any religion out there. I don't need a book or anything like that. I can explain it completely. Because the true word of God is all around you. It's everywhere. And I can teach you with anything in your environment. With the principles and foundation of energy. Whether you're a Muslim. So, this guy on the airplane. Yeah, there's, you're going to stoke up tension between nations. And people are already antsy because there's been terrorist attack. And then you have their ambassador been shot and killed. Saying, Allahu Akbar. I can say Allahu Akbar. I could train my 2-year-old child to say Allahu Akbar. Doesn't mean he's practicing the faith of Islam. My child may not even know what the hell Islam is or what a Muslim is. I can put a Bible in my 2-year-old child's. He doesn't know what it is. He can see it, but he doesn't know the concept of it and what's in it because he can't even read yet. So just because you have certain material